Alfred, you are a poor man, I can't continue with you again, poor man, worthless fool, wretched. I'm leaving now.
Mommy Alice, please don't leave us, please. Please, Mommy, don't leave us.
I am still your husband, Mr. Alfred said, stunned at the sudden shift in his wife's character. You must be joking, Alice fired back. What use is a man with no money? You're so shameless, Alfred. Go out there and hustle, because you're sure not tasting any food in this house. How did it all go wrong? Chief Alfred, a well-known businessman, had gone broke in a matter of months. Alfred was once one of the wealthiest men in Lagos. He had accumulated so much wealth that he could easily buy the entire state if he wished. His wife, Alice, whom he married when he had it all, spared nothing in showing off the grandeur of their life. They lived in luxury, flaunting every new possession, every extravagant trip. They had been married for 10 years, blessed with 2 beautiful children. Yet, Alfred's happiness was never truly rooted in his wealth. He loved his family dearly, but his wife's insatiable desire for more always left him wondering if he no longer had the money to support her lavish lifestyle, would she still love him? From one trip to another, their lives seemed like a never-ending vacation. They had a private chef who prepared their meals, which Alfred had no issue with. But what really hurt him was how Alice spent money recklessly, with no thought for the future. The extravagant purchases, the designer clothes, the constant need to impress, it was as though she lived for the applause of others. He had opened several businesses for her, hoping to give her something to pour her passion into. But one by one, she ran them into the ground in a matter of months. None of it was ever enough. All of this had pushed Alfred to this breaking point. He had decided to pretend all the money was gone, to see if his wife and children would still care for him, to see if they loved him for the man he was, or simply for the man who could give them everything they wanted. Now, as he stood there, watching Alice's cold and indifferent response, the truth of his experiment hit him harder than any loss of wealth ever could. The tension in the room was palpable as Alice stood with her arms crossed, glaring at Alfred. The man who had once been her everything, her provider, her protector, her ward, was now nothing more than a shadow of the man he used to be. The sharp words she fired at him seemed to pierce right through his chest, each sentence cutting deeper than the last. I don't understand, Alfred muttered, his voice barely above a whisper. After all these years, is this really what it comes down to? You don't care for me, for us. Alice's eyes were cold, no trace of the affection she once held for him. I care for myself. And if you're not going to bring anything to this table, then what use are you? Her tone was cruel, almost venomous. Alfred stood there, stunned, trying to process the weight of her words. His mind raced. How had it come to this? Was it his fault? Had he allowed his success to define their relationship so completely that when the money was gone, so was everything else? I've tried everything for you, Alfred said softly, his eyes searching hers for some sign of the woman he had once known. I gave you everything. But you, he shook his head, his voice trailing off in disbelief. Alice didn't flinch. She wasn't moved by his words, not even a little. I gave you the best years of my life, Alfred. I stuck by you when you had it all, and now you're asking me to stick around while you wallow in your failures. Get a grip. She turned her back on him, walking toward the door. Where are you going? Alfred called after her, the desperation in his voice clear. Out, she said dismissively, without turning around. Mommy, stop talking to my dad like that, the tiny voice of Oria broke through the tension. Mommy, is it because Daddy hasn't paid our school fees? Their son James added innocently. Alice turned sharply, irritated by their interruption. Your father is a good-for-nothing man. As big as he is, he allowed himself to lose all his wealth. Alice, if the business deal had clicked, this family would never know poverty, Alfred tried to defend. That's your business, she shrugged. Where do you say you are going? Mr. Alfred asked again, his voice more composed this time. Alice turned to him, smirking. To meet someone who knows how to take care of a woman. Someone who doesn't come home empty-handed like you. Alfred's chest tightened. The words felt like knives. Even the children were quiet now, their wide eyes darting between their parents, confused and scared. As Alice picked up her designer bag and headed toward the door, Oria ran and held onto her mother's legs. "Mommy, please don't leave. We'll be good. Daddy will get money again," she pleaded, tears in her eyes. Alice gently pushed her aside and stepped over her. "When your father becomes a real man again, maybe I'll consider coming back." Alfred couldn't move. His legs felt heavy. His heart even heavier. The woman he had once loved so deeply was now barely recognizable. The door slammed. Silence filled the house. Only the sound of young James softly crying could be heard. Next day she saw him and picked a few things. "To men who can afford me, you are clearly not my class anymore," she said, picking up her purse and walking out, leaving Alfred with the kids. Alfred bent his head in frustration, finding it hard to believe Alice would turn her back on him after all they had been through. Did the 10 years mean nothing to her? When he came home on the fateful day he started his experiment, he had narrated how a business he invested all the money in had crashed. Alice didn't understand. She thought it was a joke until she requested 5 million Nigerian nairas for new hair and Alfred told her he didn't have it. "Stop playing around," she had laughed, knowing that kind of money had once been mere change to him. But Alfred was dead serious. As her disbelief grew, he opened his bank apps and showed her only 50,000 Nigerian nairas was left. "It's a lie," she gasped, dropping her bag. "How did this happen?" "I regret it, Alice. I invested everything into a business that failed." "No. My enemies have succeeded," she screamed, bursting into tears. "Alice, we can figure this out. I've sent you money consistently. I know you must have at least 20 million Nigerian nairas in your account. Let's start over from there." "Which money?" she snapped defensively. "I don't have a dime." She lied. Alfred stood there, too shocked to even argue. The woman he had trusted, the woman he had built a life with, had chosen lies over love. That evening, the house was dark and cold. The children had fallen asleep on the couch, hungry and confused. Alice had locked the kitchen and left without a word. The door creaked open around 10 p.m. As Alice strode in, dressed in luxury, a strong perfume trailing behind her. Alfred was waiting. "Where are you coming from at this time of the night?" His voice trembled with fury. Alice rolled her eyes and walked past him. "And who are you to ask me that stupid question?" "The children slept hungry because you locked the kitchen," Alfred said, his voice cracking. She paused but didn't turn. "You must be out of your mind. And they're your kids. Why didn't you provide for them?" "I had a good time and I don't want any disturbances tonight." She slammed the bedroom door behind her. Alfred stood still, broken. The woman he married was gone, replaced by a stranger with no soul, no heart. He looked down at his sleeping children and sighed. He would never let them suffer again. A few months later, Alfred had started rebuilding. Slowly. Quietly. He took up smaller consulting jobs, leaning on his experience and old network. It wasn't the billionaire life he once had, but he was regaining purpose. Then came the shock. Alice opened a mega supermarket in Lekki. Everyone was talking about it. Billboards. Social media. Grand opening parties. Alfred was stunned. Where did she get the capital? Just months ago, she claimed she had nothing. And now this. At first, he ignored it. He had more important things to focus on, Oria and James. But the questions lingered. Then one evening, Alfred received an unexpected visitor, his former driver, Musa. "Oga, I know fit keep quiet again," Musa said, hat in hand. "Madam Alice. She used the 30 million Nigerian nairas you gave her last year before everything scattered. She lied. She moved money to another account. She planned What? Alfred froze. She even dey laugh say you be mumu. Say this test no joke. Say you go crawl back." Alfred felt the blood drain from his face. All this time, she had money hidden away, his money. She watched their children starve, mocked him, and still had the audacity to call him a failure. The final blow. A few weeks later, Alice invited the children over for the weekend, probably to show off her success. They returned quiet, withdrawn. Alfred asked gently, "What happened?" James hesitated. Then he whispered, "Mommy said you're a disgrace, that she built her shop from scratch because you're a loser, and that you'll never be rich again." Alfred's heart shattered. Not because of what she said, but because she said it to their children. That night, Alfred sat on his balcony, staring at the stars. He felt peace. He knew now. The test was over. The truth was out. And the biggest lesson of his life had been learned. Some people love you only for what you can give, not for who you are. 6 months later, a new mall opened on the island. Bigger. Better. Owned by none other than Chief Alfred Holdings Limited. You see, the fall was temporary. He had been planning in silence. Investors had returned. His real estate deals had matured. Partners believed in him again. The same friends Alice laughed at for downgrading had helped him rebuild. And now, he was back. The media buzzed, "Billionaire Alfred returns with massive investment, dedicates business to his children." When Alice saw it on the news, she dropped the wine glass in her hand. Regret hit her like a flood. But it was too late. She had failed the test. And this time, Alfred wasn't coming back. Chief Alfred Holdings Limited, his newly rebranded company, had launched 3 major businesses in just 1 month. A new luxury estate development, a chain of pharmacies, and the crown jewel, a mall that instantly became the talk of Lagos. Photos of Alfred in a sharp grey suit, smiling beside his children during the ribbon-cutting ceremony, flooded the internet. Reporters praised his resilience. His children stood proudly beside him. The same children who once slept hungry, now glowing in confidence, dressed in matching Ankara outfits, held up the banner, "For our daddy, who never gave up on us." Meanwhile, Alice sat in her living room, watching the news in silence. Her supermarket business had begun to decline. Sales were slowing. Word had spread, people knew the truth. That she abandoned her husband when he needed her. That she mocked him. That she let her children suffer. Sponsors pulled out. Her elite friends stopped inviting her. The shame began to eat her alive. She picked up her phone and dialed Alfred's number. He didn't answer. She tried again. And again. Still nothing. So she drove to his new estate. At the gate, the security guard didn't let her in. "Madam, Oga say make we no allow you inside." She begged. Pleaded. "Please. I'm his wife." "Madam, Oga say he no get wife again." Later that night, Alfred sat at home, watching Oria and James laugh as they played a board game on the floor. He smiled. His phone buzzed again. Alice. This time, he picked up. Her voice trembled on the other end. "Alfred, please. I want to see you. Just one last time." Alfred took a deep breath. "What do you want, Alice?" "I'm sorry. I didn't mean to say all those things. I was scared, confused. I didn't know the money would come back." "You were scared?" he asked, coldly. "You locked your children out of the kitchen. You laughed at me. You lied about having money while your own children went to bed hungry. And now that I'm back on my feet, you remember you had a husband." She was silent. "I gave you love. I gave you a home. But what did you give back when things got hard?" Tears rolled down her face on the other end. "Please, Alfred. I want my family back. I'll change." "I already have a family," Alfred said, looking over at Oria and James. "The ones who stayed when everything was gone." He hung up. Months later, Alice sold her supermarket and moved to a smaller apartment. Nobody returned her calls. Even her close friends distanced themselves, afraid of being associated with a woman whose greed had destroyed her home. Alfred, on the other hand, built his empire stronger than ever. But this time, he focused on his children. he made sure they knew they were loved. That they were enough. That no amount of money could replace their worth. During a charity gala held by Alfred, a reporter asked him, "Chief Alfred, what's the greatest lesson this journey has taught you?" He smiled. One Sunday morning, Alfred stood with Uriah and James in church. As the choir sang, he looked up with tears in his eyes, not of pain, but of peace. Because he had been tested. And though he lost a wife, he found the truth. He found his purpose. And he found what truly mattered. Months later, Alice returned, her eyes swollen from crying, her heart heavy with regret. She stood hesitantly at Alfred's door, trembling as she whispered, "Alfred, please, forgive me." Inside, Uriah and James saw her and ran to her, their innocent faces full of hope. "Daddy, please forgive Mommy," they pleaded. Alfred looked at Alice, then at their children. Slowly, he stepped forward, his face softening. Without a word, he pulled Alice into a warm embrace. "I forgive you," he said quietly, holding her tightly. Their children joined the hug, wrapping their arms around both parents, a circle of love and healing. The very next day, the family threw a joyful party in their parlor. Laughter filled the room as they ate, drank, and celebrated their newfound peace, stronger together, ready to build a future rooted in love. The end. Please, my brother, my sister. If you've watched this story to the end, I beg you with tears in my heart, don't let my effort waste. Just subscribe. Please, I do beg you. Like this video. Leave a comment, even if it's just a word. It gives me strength to keep going. And please, share it with someone. Help me spread this story. I do talk from my heart. God bless you as you support me. Thank you. I no take your support for granted.